Transgender people make up less than 1% of our population. Discovering your identity and expressing your identity should not be something that you or any other representative should go after and try to stop. I can't believe I'm talking about the United States of America right now. Sad. They're hoping that you don't know transgender people. They look to the margins of our society and they're cruelly attacking. There are children today who are transgender. There are adults today who are transgender. There will always be transgender children. There will always be transgender adults. That is a human condition. Hello, hello, and thank you for joining me. This is a Trans Moment with Brandi Beckett. Today, we are diving further into the NPR article talking about the 25 states that currently in the United States have anti-trans laws against transgender adolescents and youth. So our kids, the most vulnerable kids in our society, the marginalized kids in our society, have 25 states that are attacking them through our legal system. So let's dive a little further. What else do they have to tell us through this article from NPR? So, they go on in this article to quote Aaron Reed. Aaron Reed's awesome. If you don't know about Aaron Reed, I'll put a link to Aaron Reed in the description of this video. You have to follow Aaron Reed and subscribe. Transgender activist and a remarkable publicist in news. She is on top of it. So Aaron Reed has been tracking these anti-trans laws across the United States for many years now. All right. So to quote Aaron, I have watched thousands of hours of legislative hearings on this. There is probably not another topic that is currently receiving as much legislative time in the United States right now in state houses across the country, she said. She goes on. Laws targeting queer and trans people seem to come in waves throughout American history. This is not just an isolated incident. Ooh, go on, Aaron. Tell us some more. It also not coming from the groundswell of public concern, she asserts. Despite what people think personally about transgender care, they don't want legislators spending time on it. She points to the Norco LA Times poll released in June that found 77% of Americans agree with the statement, quote, elected officials are mostly using debates over transgender and non-binary people to distract attention from more pressing priorities. There's also a religious aspect to the push for these laws. So it's just not fair to be a political pawn used to gain political power. Our lives not cared about. Don't care what happened to us. Just want to use us as a power move. Distract and conquer. And I guess that's one of the reasons that we're so prominently featured in just about every headline in today's news. The article also goes on to point out it's just not politics that are driving these anti-trans bills. There's a huge uprising of a religious aspect. So, to quote the article, when God created us, He created us male and female, and that's it. There's no other choice, South Carolina House Majority Leader Republican Davy Hoyt told reporters in January. All these other folks that want to change that from birth or change that through their life, we need to stand up against that. Yeah, so Republican leader Davey Hoyt, he's like, we need to stand up against transgender people thinking they can change who they are. It's a huge misconception with that, isn't there, Hoyt? Not once am I or any of these other activists saying that we're changing. We're expressing who we are. We were mislabeled. Discovering your identity and expressing your identity should not be something that you or any other representative should go after and try to stop. You stand up against my expression of my identity and you call yourself a representative of American people. That's not good. Not good there, Hoyt. Not surprisingly, South Carolina does have a ban for gender-affirming care for youth. Not surprising. Dawson points out that the laws target the use of various medical interventions, not the interventions themselves. So she questions the argument that drugs or hormone treatments are unsafe. There are exceptions for youth who need to access their services, the very same services that are prohibited for non-gender affirming care purposes. So Dawson makes a good point here. There are exceptions for this medication for people who are not trans. Like I was pointing out earlier. Dawson's pointing it out too. This is not about the medication. It's not. It's about who they are. They are targeting healthcare providers in many of these states and fining them, in some cases, $250,000 in possibly jail times for providing healthcare treatments for transgender children, non-binary children, for healthcare for children. It's not about the medication. And like to travel, like banned in 25 states. So the states surrounding these other states, guess what? They're gonna have to take on healthcare for children in other states. Our friend Dr. Gottfried, clinic in Minnesota, said the ban surrounding the states around Minnesota has increased their patients by more than 30%. To quote the doctor, even though we've had added additional medical and mental health staff to try to keep up with that, our wait list is still over a year long. A year to get health care. You're trying to block puberty and you have to wait a year just to get seen by a doctor to discuss going forward and then getting the medication? Oh my goodness, a year? And that's out of the state. That's to go to another state and wait a year. This is how we're treating American children. Wow, come on, folks. And Dr. Gottfried goes on to say, we're really set up to care for Minnesotans. We're not set up to care for the Midwest. But that's what they're forced to do now. They're forced to care for all of the children because certain states refuse to care for children. That's sad. So sad. Oh yeah. Ah, here we go. It's not just laws about medical care that have been passed, notes Kaylin Baker. So Kaylin Baker, executive director of the Whitman Walker Institute, an LGBTQ research and advocacy group. To quote Dr. Baker, there are new restrictions being proposed and enacted every day around how transgender people can move through the world, not just with regards to accessing medical care, but for example, going to school, playing on a sports team, he said. Yeah, Baker's right. They're not just making it hard to be healthy in the United States as a transgender person. They're making it hard for a transgender person to walk around, to exist in the United States. That's scary. In Baker's view, the state legislators passed these laws are, to quote the doctor, attacking kids to score political points and take advantage of the fact that there are a lot of people might not know a transgender person. And that's true. That is true, doctor. They're hoping that you don't know transgender people, or that you've only heard of transgender people from a third party, a story that someone else told you, a news article about something bad. Most people don't know transgender people closely because transgender people make up less than 1% of our population. And they're relying on that. They're relying on us not having enough of a voice to be heard as credible, to be enough of an American citizen to be heard as the rest of the American citizens are heard. They want us to go away. They want us not to be in society. Can't believe I'm talking about the United States of America right now. It's sad. To quote Dr. Baker, there aren't that many transgender people, but the best estimates we have are about 0.6% of the US population identifies as transgender. Yeah, less than 1%. 25 states have gone out of their way to attack 0.6% of the population. And they're not just straight up attacking us. They're attacking the weak of us. The predators out there on the Serengeti. They're picking off the easiest targets. The vulnerable, the margins. They look to the margins of our society and they're cruelly attacking transgender children. Not every transgender person discovers, realizes, or expresses their gender identity when they're a child. Not all of them do it as an adult either. But those of us that express ourselves as adults, we were also once children. There are children today who will be adults. There are children today who are transgender. There are adults today who are transgender. There will always be transgender children. There will always be transgender adults. That is a human condition. We are part of the human population. I'm going to leave you as I always do with this message. Love yourself, but more importantly, like yourself and treat people the way they want to be treated. Bye-bye for now.